Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone around the globe, and a very warm welcome to the second session of the UNCCD Civil Society Organizations Panel's online preparatory session for COP17. My name is Topiko Babalashvili, and currently I serve on the UNCCD Civil Society Organizations Panel representing Central and Eastern Europe. Before we begin, a few housekeeping points. This session is being recorded. Translation into Spanish, French, and English is provided. Please choose the channel of your preference, clicking on the world icon at the bottom of the screen. You are warmly encouraged to use the chat box to introduce yourselves, share reflections, and exchange with other participants. Please use the Q&A function to post your questions to the panelists, and if possible, please refer to which panelist your question is addressing to. We have dedicated time for interaction and Q&A at the end of the session. So please pose your questions, share your comments and reflections. We kindly ask you to be concise with your questions so that as many voices as possible can be heard. This session has been convened with the support of the project Strengthening Civil Society Role in Achieving Land Degradation Neutrality, funded by the Global Environment Facility and implemented by Drynet, IUCN, and both ends. Over the next 1 hour, we will explore opportunities in relation to agriculture offered at COP17 of the UNCCD, drawing on the experiences and insights of our distinguished panelists. Specifically, the objectives of today's session are to shape insights into what may be expected to happen at COP17 regarding agriculture and how COP16 decisions 15 and 19, one's on science policy recommendations on sustainable land use system, and another decision on avoiding, reducing, and reversing land and soil degradation of agricultural lands, can advance related topics that are relevant for civil society organizations, such as agroecology, soil health, and sustainable and healthy food systems. And the second objective is to share suggestions about what actions the civil society organizations attending COP can take to advance the sustainable agriculture agenda, especially on the road to the adoption of the new strategic framework of the Convention, post-2030 Future Strategic Framework of the UNCCD. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our first panel for today. Dr. Lian Wieniawski is the Global Research Lead for Soil and Land Health at ICRAF based in Nairobi, Kenya. As a soil scientist, her work focuses on landscape restoration, identifying drivers of land degradation, and quantifying how land management practices influence soil health and ecosystem resilience. She's co-founder of the Coalition of Action for Soil Health, a multi-stakeholder partnership of over 350 organizations and individuals working together to improve soil health through collective coordinated action. Lian, thank you very much for being with us today. I will hand over to you and the floor is yours for around 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Topiko. And you pronounced my name the correct way. I'm guessing from your background because it's actually a Polish name. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Lee Wieniawski, but as Topiko said, it's Wieniawska. And this is such an honor to be here with everyone and to really highlight what we as a civil society can do to engage in the upcoming COP. And I'm bringing you this presentation from Nairobi, Kenya. So I'm a soil scientist, and I hope everyone knows that 95% of our food is grown directly in our soil. So we really have soil health at the center of food and nutrition security, but also ecosystem restoration, climate change adaptation, biodiversity mitigation and biodiversity conservation. But we are here because soil degradation threatens livelihoods and landscapes, with over 40% of the Earth's surface degraded. And this is, I need to speak slower. I'm remembering Anila's recommendation. Business as usual is not an option. In fact, it never should have been an option. We need increased investments in implementation, monitoring, policy, and financing of soil health initiatives. And as Sopiko mentioned, we have the entry point with the decisions made last year in Riyadh. With decision 19, it's restoration of agricultural lands and soil health. I believe this is the first decision that really focuses on soil health, and we couldn't be happier. And of course, soil also is in rangeland. So decision 29 is very important. I hope everyone here has engaged in the Riyadh Action Agenda. If not, please do. This is the civil society non-state actor platform for engagement. And I'm proud to say that the Coalition of Action for Soil Health, CASH network, held 47 events alongside 70 partners to promote the central role of healthy soil to achieve LDN at COP16. Now, what do we expect? We must start the progress reporting, accountability. We have a huge opportunity, and Solandi and I are both on the steering committee to design food systems and soil health day, August 27th at COP17. This is the first time soil health is having a day. This is huge. We are also launching the Riyadh Action Agenda breakthroughs, and of course, talking about the synergies across the 3 Rio conventions. Now, we do have gaps, and as a civil society member, we all have a responsibility to fill these gaps in science and data. We know it's the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists. So what science and data are we bringing on rangeland health, impact of rangeland restoration, financing, governance, and inclusion gaps? We really have an important role to play as civil society. So here are some suggested entry points. Do you know your national land degradation neutrality focal points? Are you bringing your evidence to bear on decisions and policies, investments? Do you know what the Riyadh Action Agenda breakthroughs are? Are you willing to endorse them? I'll tell you, there's one on rangelands, there's one on food systems and soil. And how can we better engage with the CSO panel, the UNCCD Youth, Gender, Indigenous Peoples caucuses, and I hope you'll all engage with the Coalition of Action for Soil Health. Our mission is to improve soil health globally. Very simple, right? Let's just improve soil health globally. But we are acknowledging that there are real barriers we need to address and overcome around policy, finance, and practice. But we really see it's possible, and we can show you it is, through coordinated evidence-based action. Please, if you would like to join CASH, we continue to grow. We took root in 2021 at the UN Food Systems Summit, over 350 members. And you can see the percentage of the makeup of our members. And we're very proud that we have farmer organizations and even the smallest NGOs perhaps working on soil and composting in Democratic Republic of Congo. So we really want to elevate all voices alongside the UN, government, international organizations, and private sector. Now, if you would like to engage, and we will be hosting, I think, 3 official side events and 5 other side events just on Food Systems and Soil Health Day, with a total of over 20 events. Well, I'd like to invite all of you to contribute to the 3 knowledge products, and one is on soil and rangeland health, soil information systems for LDN, and really how healthy soil is central to the 3 Rio conventions. I don't know, maybe you can show a raise of hands of if we have any youth on the call. the youth launched their own Youth for Soil, and we launched the Youth for Soil Manifesto on COP30, and we'll be launching the implementation guide at UNCCD. So you can get out your phones and scan the COP Soil webpage and the COP17 events. And if you want to join any event, we have lots of room for panelists. And just to give you a highlight of some of these knowledge products. So we really are, with the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists, wanting to show how if we're doing rangeland restoration, it needs to be from the soil up. And then again, how healthy soil aligns with Rio Conventions. So these are opportunities to contribute and have your logo here. We also have the Soil Health Resolution, which is about recognizing soil as important to life on land, affirm the agricultural and pastoral systems can be part of the climate solution, stress the importance of aligning the Rio Conventions, consider the important role of healthy soil for restoration, climate action, biodiversity, and reaffirm the need for international cooperation. We also have some really exciting campaigns. So alongside the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists, we have the International Year of Women Farmer, and there's lots of opportunities to engage here. And anyone who's interested in the Soil Health Mentorship Initiative, this aims to connect mentees with mentors globally. And here's a little bit more on the Youth for Soil Manifesto. You can see we have the UNCCD Youth Caucus as a key member here. And I think it's really important that we find these concrete entry points as civil society to implement the goals, the agenda of these Rio Conventions. These are not something only up here, right? We have a real responsibility to reverse land degradation, to build healthy soil, and to build communities. So I'm really excited to be here. I know we want to give as much time to questions, and Anila is going to say, Lee, still slow down. So I apologize to the translators and also thank them. If you would like to learn more about the Coalition of Action for Soil Health, this is our gorgeous annual report. You can scan it. And I don't know if you've seen a timeline like this before, but at the top, this is our timeline in photos. And you can see our engagement at, in our hashtag CopSoil. So we're really open to everyone. And we look forward to hearing how you're engaging at COP and how you're engaging with the Riyadh Action Agenda, and look forward to seeing you in Mongolia. So Pico, that's the end of my presentation, and I hand it back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Liane. Thank you for this amazing presentation and for diving into what's already achieved regarding the soil health and agricultural lands at the COP 16 and what can we expect during COP17. And also thank you very much for sharing these wonderful initiatives and events of the coalition. And I'm sure that later our participants will have some questions toward you. And before move to our second panelist, I would like to remember our participants that please use the Q&A box to pose your questions, share some reflections, and interact with other participants. Thank you very much once again. Now it's my pleasure to move to our second panelist. Soalandi Rakotondramanga. Soalandi is a land and water officer at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. Her work focuses on sustainable land management and agricultural land restoration, and she plays a key role in FAO's collaboration with the UNCCD, including the development and promotion of the FAO UNCCD guidance on avoiding, reducing, and reversing land and soil degradation of agricultural lands. She collaborates with governments, technical experts, and international partners to advance practical solutions and policy approaches that support the sustainable management and restoration of agricultural lands. Dear Solandri, thank you very much for being with us today. I will hand over to you. Floor is yours for next 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, so Pico, for these very nice introductions, and thank you for inviting me to these discussions. I'm going to make a presentation. Let me share it with you. Okay. And today I will just be talking about the journey from COP16 to COP17, and my focus is going to be about agricultural lands and soil restorations. And today I'm going to explain, or we can explore together the presentation, but also later on some entry points where the civil society organization could engage. I have a very short session, so let's begin. My plan is that we talk about explain the decision 15 and 19 from COP16. Then I would like to give you a preview about the guidance, the FAO and UNCCD guidance on avoiding, reversing, and reducing degradation of land and soil. We have presented on Monday to the members as a snapshot, and today we also have this opportunity to do so and to explore together some key actions that we can work on together. Then I will describe how. Okay, how do we scrub? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. How do
Oh, on the bottom side.
This one?
You can make full screen.
Sorry about that. Do you see the right screen now? Apologies.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry about that. And next, and then I will show you how the guidance was actually prepared, the process itself, and then we look into the enabling environment where I believe and I think the civil society organization can really play a strong role. And then some few items, three main things to watch for COP17, and that's some key message. And let me start with the mandate of Decision 15. The Decision 15 from COP16 is all about planning. It asks parties to plan land use around the land potential. It also asks for real stakeholder governance. And the Decision 19, which is the guidance direct mandate, it is quite different. It asks us and everyone to avoid, reduce, and reverse the land degradations, and it supports through nature-based solutions. And it calls to move forward toward a much more sustainable food system. So why does it matter? Because we know that 60% of the global land are degraded. 1.6 billion hectares of the land are degraded, and 60% of which happens in agricultural land. And this is really a very large number. So it shows that agricultural land really deserve its own attention. Before I show what the guidance deliver, let me show how this was built itself. The guidance was not really built on its own, written alone. We have had several consultation process in which I just recall that few of the representatives here participated. For example, we have one in Panama, Colombia, but also recently in Jeddah. The discussion shape what you are about to see. And civil society organizations take really an active part in the all discussions. In Panama City and in CRIC consultations, we have had a strong conclusion, key message that we really need to include the local and traditional knowledge in the guidance itself. And in Cartagena, after the ICAD 20 declaration, it was really shaped by a social movement, rural social movement, where it recognized customary and community-based tenure system. It really valued the civil society as key agent of change, not just beneficiaries. And again, it called for traditional knowledge to stand next to science. And last but not least, in Jerba, during the desertification 2026, we have around 80 participants worked collaboratively on what avoid, reduce, and reverse approach work together on the field. So we have had a CARI, a French civil society organization, who really worked on Azanit, and everyone really guided the process itself. So what is the guidance about? What does it deliver? So at the title, we put the title as Living Soil, Productive Land, Resilient Landscape. This is a joint publication that we will be launching for COP. So we'll have the Food System and Soil Health Day, uh, where we will present it. We will present it as well, the status of the global soil report at the same time, to really back the science, what is happening on the ground, what's going on in the world, and then we'll present to everyone, members, practitioners, but also what the concept is about. And it's really rounded around 8 guiding principles, 3 of which now is really on what really matter, which is secure tenure, the right to food, and inclusive governance and evidence-based management. And the guidance itself is rooted around 3 main interacting levels. First, the land use planning for land degradation neutrality. The second is a call to more diversified production system that is respectful of the land and the soil and the enabling environment. I will deep dive into this enabling environment just in a few minutes, but we have this last concept. It is voluntary, and here the countries really requested us that the guidance should be voluntary, but also adaptable. Adaptable not only to the person, to the stakeholder, but adaptable again to the local circumstances and where it will happen. And we have paired it with what we call the digital companion of the guidance. So basically, what's the digital companion? We have the guidance itself who guide us what we need to do to achieve to achieve the living soil protected land and resilient landscape. But at the same time, you have a digital companion who tell you, okay, if I want to do, for example, if I want to do an assessment, or if I want to start, where do I start? So the digital companion will help you through the artificial intelligence, but also through search keyword, help you exactly. Those are tools that will help you deliver on the topic that you want to do. But at the same time, these are the practice that were proven positive in doing so. And then I would like to really narrow down into this enabling environment, because I do think personally that it's where here that the civil society can have a strong entry point. And the enabling environment, we have rounded it on 6 main pillars, which is the governance and tenure part. It's here that really we know that 35% of land is documented, and the rest is the tenure security is not there. So this is where CSO can play, and we know that you're really advancing this agenda. The second one is on policy coherence. Policy coherence between sectors, between ministry. And then the question here is like really what block the coordinations, but also not only at the ministry level, but also between you and the ministry. This is a discussion as well. The third one is on markets. And this is saying that a fair standard market can help smallholders and it can really alleviate the cost to the rural value chain and what is working on the ground. And fourth, again, the science and innovation data, the digital companion that I was talking to you about earlier. What make it useful? How do we integrate the local knowledge? How do we use the grassroots? And how can you make it understandable by each and everyone? The the fifth one is on investment and finance. We know that we really restorations of agricultural land and soil is under finance, and institutional capacity is where you are doing exactly a very excellent job, where you are supporting the practitioners on the farmers, the pastoralists in the peer learning, and it's really you where you deliver on the ground. I'm also sharing few entry points, free things to watch in the COP17. I've said earlier that we have the launch of the food system and soil health, but also we have the land day where we have the representative of youth, indigenous people who really are also a part of this movement, are presenting the manifesto, but they're also the brief. But then I would like to also look at the other, for example, these draft decisions. It will be discussed, shown to the members and to everyone. It will be good to also receive your feedback on this. How do we make it actionable? How do we implement it? Do we need to have pilot countries? Do we need to, how do we work together? So this is really something that we need to watch out. The second one is the enabling conditions. And this include the tenure and the governance and finance part. And let's look at what the special attention to the small scale producer and the vulnerable group. And the third one is I've seen that there is a new document on private sector and the forward planning. Parties were asked to engage the business and to use forward-looking climate and land analysis to guide future investments. So I think also civil society organization can play also a part in the enriching the discussions, so to ensure that investments are as well socially acceptable. And one of the last key message that also the entry points that we have from the guidance, and we would like to bring it to the attentions of everyone, not only to the countries, but also to civil society organization present here. So how do you ensure that agricultural lands are the priorities in the COP17? And would like, if possible, to encourage government to name them clearly in the national land degradation neutrality target. The second one is really a difficulties and the gap that we have seen now on strengthening the assessment and the monitoring, supporting the metric that reflect really the diversification of productions, not only on monoculture or on cropland. And the third is to have this scale of diversified and resilient productions that really encourage, should be encouraged through coordinated policy support. And fourth one is to connect the climate change, biodiversity, and land degradation together. And fifth is to engage through the digital companion, as I said earlier. I think this is my last slide on some possible discussion that we can have later, and we can discuss on it. We can also receive feedback on you. So really on encouraging real enabling conditions for the civil society so that you are named not only on the participant as a real participant, not an afterthought. The second one is like to support and to link agroecology and organic agriculture in the fair market or in the financing access for smallholders. The third actions that we can do together is to really encourage parties to follow through on the enabling in conditions that we talked about earlier on the financing part, on the governance part, and on the tenure. And last but not least, to encourage party to use the guidance and to see follow the progress through COP18. And this is maybe the last message that I have today, and we can discuss really later on. The COP16 really set the mandate on the and we will deliver on the FAO UNCCD guidance to live in soil protected land and resilient landscape. And COP17 should make it official, but again, the guidance really matters if it gets implemented. So we hope to join hands, but also discuss further how civil society can hold party to it, but how can we also implement it together. So that's it for now, and I welcome any discussions. And I will also leave my contact with to the organizer later. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sopiko.
Dear Sondre, thank you very much for this amazing presentation and for guiding us through what was the key elements and principles of the guide that was prepared by the FAO, and also what might be the entry points for civil society organizations to advocate for. Thank you very much, and in general, thank you very much both of the panelists for these insightful and inspiring contributions. And now I believe it's time to move to the Q&A segment of our webinar. And for this segment, I'm delighted to invite my dear colleague, Ellen Otteru from the UNCCD Civil Society Organizations Panel. She represents Africa region. I'm really happy, Ellen, that you are here with us today. And before diving into the questions, just a reminder that during this segment, dear participants, you can raise your hand and pose the question directly or share your questions in the Q&A box. And as a reminder, please keep your questions brief and focused to allow space for others as well. And I will open the floor for this segment for around 20 minutes. I'm already seeing some questions in the Q&A section, and I'm going to directly pick up some questions from there. I see one question addressing Solandi. So in India, from Dharmender Nadimetla, in India context, due to various reasons, majority of agricultural land is converted into real estate and other development works. How this concern can be addressed to witness concrete results to ensure agriculture will regain its momentum across the nation. And the second question is environment, pollution, and soil quality are interrelated? If so, how this integrated challenge needs to be addressed? Maybe we can first start with those questions, and I will collect other questions also simultaneously. Dear Solandi, maybe you want to start?
Yeah, you really ask a very pertinent questions, and the question is like the majority of land, if I understand well, the majority of land in India are converted and into new real estate. Unfortunately, this is the reality because you have the competitions on land use, and this is exactly how can we ensure that it's happen. One straight answer, and not the easiest, by the way, is this really concept of reducing, reversing, and restore the degradation of land. But it's not only that, because it's about the planning. And this is where the ministry really, the ministry and the countries really play part in really allocating that land for agriculture or land for environment, for ecosystem service, for example, forest, are not converted. So because we have always these competitions, and it's really up to the ministry to in the land use planning to have that. And this is the important part that we stress as well in the guidance, that we said we advocate for an integrations, because agriculture cannot go solo. We always have to work in a multi-sectoral, but also ministerial coordinations to ensure that there is a policy coherence. And the countries, I know they don't really like the word trade-off, but have the synergies and complementarities. And when you speak one word in the Ministry of Agriculture, ensure that we have the land that need to pick up and do the ecosystem service or the production service. So that is all in the land use planning, and this at the government level. So that is, I think, one. So in the governance, shortly, governance at the ministerial level is needed to ensure that. That is one short answer, but we can elaborate. On the second one, it said soil quality integrated challenges. I didn't catch up really what the second question's about, because I don't have it in front of my eyes. What to ensure that agriculture regain? What's exactly? Sorry.
Yolandi, I can
Mm-hmm,
help because I think the point about soil pollution is really important. And
mm-hmm,
I think FAO also just released their soil pollution report, and that was last year's
mm-hmm,
World Soil Day, if I recall correctly. And I think that it's just really important that when we're talking about soil health, that the aspect of soil pollution isn't omitted. And I just wanted to appreciate the comment, the question from the participant, because now we're hearing about microplastics
mm-hmm,
in the soil, in the air, and we are developing at the World Agroforestry Center, ECRAF, where I'm based now, Landscape Alliance, and how to measure this using fast, rapid tools. Like
mm-hmm.
mid-infrared spectroscopy. And so I just really want to acknowledge that when we think about healthy soil, we think about everything from organic matter to aggregates to biodiversity, but also making sure we don't have the pollutants. So it's a great question. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both the
Mm-hmm.
panelists, for your answers. Now, I see the raised hand from one of the participants, and let me give floor to this participant, and then I will continue collecting some questions from the box. Chena Kesava, could you please turn off on your microphone and pose your question? The floor is yours. Please turn on your microphone. Okay, then I will get back to you later. And simultaneously, I see another question regarding Lien. So how can we ensure that mobilization of private funding for soil health does not primarily benefit large farms or the most profitable projects at the expense of the most vulnerable regions? Could you please give us your thoughts about
Yeah.
this?
I think it's a very good question, and I think it's why the UNCCD CSO panel exists, right? This is the whole point, that we are not observers, we are not bystanders, we are part of the development, the implementation, the delivery of anything that we want to create. So if we are focusing on financial incentives, then we must make sure that these financial incentives reach, and going to Tamara's question as well, the marginalized, the often forgotten. So I think it's just important that we
work that into the incentive structure. And we are really committed to working with startups, with private sector, with CSOs, anyone that's interested in developing equitable and inclusive financial incentive structures that support pastoralists and farmers to really invest in healthy soil. And I think we can all acknowledge, Solani talked a lot about agroecological approaches. We can all acknowledge that there's sometimes a transition phase where farmers are learning and maybe they might need some support to get through that transition. And so that's what we're really aiming, is how to support farmers in that transition. So I hope that answers okay. So Pico, back to you.
Thank you very much, and also to integrating the question of Tamara in your response. And another question addressing FAO. So from the FAO's perspective, which agricultural measures should be prioritized to shift from a reactive approach to drought management to a genuine policy of anticipating and reducing vulnerability? And let me also pose another question also regarding FAO, please. We had the comment from Mario D. Sanchez, but I don't see these questions anymore. Maybe you answered, but so what she mentioned is that it's important to measure not just the agricultural monocrop areas, but also other types of productive areas. And she's interested if we have any success story of any country that is already measuring and monitoring, for example, agroforestry and the silvopastoral areas and agroecology. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. I'll try to respond to the first questions and said what is the best. I think when you take into the circumstance, the guidance say that there's there's 1,000 tools and approach that exist. However, when you said what is the best, there is nothing like that. The best is the one that really suit the conditions and the land where you are. So the best is for you to also understand the situations. But the first is you really need to understand what exactly is happening in a particular land, because what is happening in Rome is not what is happening in Coliseum, which is close by. So really, we are not really prospecting this is a prescriptions, go and eat the medicine, but to really understand what's exactly is happening on the ground. What is not only, and we're talking not only on not only the biophysical factors, but also the social, the ecosystem itself. So we need to understand what is happening. That's why we advocate for first understanding the situations, the assessment of what's going. So based on the assessment that you have, this is the first one. If you have done your assessment, not only in the physical and social, then we move to, depending on the status, there are some entry points that you can explore. So really, the digital component of the guidance really allow you to play that practical parts into, okay, I've done this, now I have this, what do I do next? What is the best part? And after that, you can also learn that in this particular situation, for example, in Honduras, this is something that happened there. This is a successful case. You'll be able to see exactly, because it's mirrored in the WCAT SLM database as well. This has happened. These are the results. So you can have a kind of a package in there. So that is, I think, to sum up in there. So there's no one's size fit all. Really get assessment, understand the situations, and react. And there's some guidance in there next, like next. Okay, if you don't know this, get this, and you can play around it and see how it goes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, before we move to another questions that I see in the chat, I want to give floor to my dear colleague Ellen to, I don't know, ask some question about the civil society advocacy, specifically on the agricultural lands and soil health during the COP17 on behalf of the also CSO panel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sopiko. Thank you, both presenters. as we head towards COP17, we have multiple issues that we are preparing for and preparing the core messages. And today we heard at least 5 key areas that we can portray. However, the most important thing that we're looking at this moment as a question from the CSO panel, I would like to request to find out from you, how can we, the CSOs, contribute and ensure that the parties create and reach the positive outcomes of COP16 decisions on agriculture? How can that be translated into concrete support for smallholder farmers, pastoralists, women? We are seeing that we have indigenous peoples and the CSOs that work on the land restoration and soil health. And taking into account a very important factor that we again heard today, that only 35% of land is registered, and therefore the remaining 65% of land is available to the community and to the users, but they have no control over that. So how can we ensure that the concrete support to those small holders and other users of land is implemented by the parties, as well as the finances that they are going to invest? How accountable will that be? The parties this is what the CSOs will be looking so that they can contribute at the COP17 decisions. Thank you. And my question is to both panelists, so you are free to contribute to each section of the question.
Ellen, I love the question, and I love how you just like so gracefully and powerfully, put this out, and this huge question. And I want to share just some philosophy that I have and we have at the coalition. So I know everyone is like, who does agroecology is like, oh, we need national agroecology strategies. Or if you're in regenerative ag, you're like, oh, we need a national regen ag strategy. And so the first question we got with the coalition was, oh, are you going to work on a soil health strategy for every country? And I said, no, that's not the goal. The goal is, to answer your question, is how can we make sure current policies also contribute to Decision 16, also contribute to Decision 19, also contribute to Decision 29. Yes, some countries are doing soil health strategies. That's great. But what I would like to see is how can we get soil health included in the nationally determined contributions? Soil stores 3 times more carbon than the above ground vegetation. It should be in every single NDC. Soil is the most biodiverse ecosystem in the world. How can we include it in the NBSAPs to report on biodiversity? So for me, I would like to see how investing in healthy soil can bend the curve on land degradation, achieve the ecosystem restoration goals. Ethiopia, 15 million hectares committed, Kenya, 7 million. And so and it already is in LDN. So I think we need to stop putting more pressure on governments. They're totally overloaded with commitment burden. So I loved your question, because it's like, how can we make sure that we have a few tangible activities that can help report on several of these commitments? And I think it's aligned with what you said. So Ellen, I will try to be more stately in my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leanne Winowski. Thank you very much for the very interesting response. Yes, and it will help the CSOs. We are many of us here today, more than 60, and as a panel, it's our responsibility to ensure that when we have the statements ready, we have those, key areas. And especially we know that there will be finance, ministerial, meeting, conference where they will be discussing on soil and on water. So we want to have them accountable and invest in the right way.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thank you very much, Leanne, for responding this question. And I will take one more question from the audience. I see a hand, and then I will move to the wrapping up of our amazing webinar today. Jabug Aziaka, if you hear us, please turn on your microphone, and the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you so much for this amazing webinar. I just want to congratulate you all the CSO panel for the hard work. And it's a very important topic we are discussing, and I hope all of us, just to encourage all of us to be more engaged in the process and to give the best of ourselves to this process, and then learn from each other. And thank you a lot, all the panelists and the CSO panel, for organizing this amazing webinar. I just want to congratulate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. In this case, I also saw one last question. How promote appropriate systems for monitoring land degradation and managing related information? If any of our amazing panelists want to share their contributions on this. Yes,
I can
please.
take it. This is such a difficult questions. There's always a political will said we're going to restore 1 billion hectare of lands, and then after that, IFR 100, for example, we're going to restore 100 million of land, or now 125 million hectare of lands. But then there's always the difficulties in the monitoring system and monitoring as well what has been restored or rehabilitated. So currently, FAO, we are tackling that in two ways. And also, first one, I'm talking about land as well, land degradation. So we have a project we call the PRIZE, and we work with few countries, 8 countries, if I'm not mistaken. We combine as well field data and remote sensing and geospatial tools. And it really had a very great result, and we're going to helping countries in reporting, and we'll have the first batch of result coming in January, but really combining and helping the ministries assessing the tools as well, but at the same time providing the real data on the ground. So this is one. The second one is like what we're doing is, and this is a novelty, and we are trying to have we have the Gazette, but also the land investment targeting tools who understand really in each countries what are the degradation trends, the target restoration efforts, and that will really support the evidence-based policy. Because let's us be sure that, in agriculture and land, it's really difficult to assess what a restoration of agricultural land is. And here is where the scientists and research need to come down together to agree on this set of indicators that are really acceptable by everyone. But that is one also an important part, that at least a set of indicators that people and scientists can agree upon. And we are really working forward with the partners, with Leanne, with the colleague as well, to do this kind of assessment, but also to put our hands together so that we have a comprehensive and acceptable set of indicators that will allow us to say in confidence that this is the trends, this is what you need to put toward together, and this is backed by science and accept it. Thank you. And I'll put my response to it on the writing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I believe it's time to move to the last part of our webinar to make some summary. Once again, thank you very much, dear panelists, for your wonderful presentations, for sharing the insights from what's happening around the agricultural lands and soil health under the UNCCD, for also sharing amazing initiatives and events or activities what your organizations undertake, and just also key takeaways from each of your presentations. I believe that from Lian's presentation, we can take that bring evidence is very important while we are talking to decision makers. And also, you mentioned Riyadh Action Agenda as a vehicle for non-party stakeholders to showcase their contributions and efforts against land degradation and contributing to land degradation neutrality, so we can be more familiar about the Riyadh Action Agenda and its work. And also from the presentations of Solandi, one of the key highlights was think about how we can make the guidance on avoiding, reversing, reducing the degradation of agricultural soil and lands applicable and actionable. So with the policymakers, with the national focal points, we as a civil society need to support agroecology and advocate agroecology. Also encourage parties to follow on enabling conditions and follow the guidance and make sure that it's integrated into the national programs, national frameworks, and land degradation neutrality targets. So thank you once again, and I would like to also thank our dear participants for contributing with their questions, and also thank you very much to our technical team who made it possible to implement this webinar today. As the final words, remember that the recording and the slides of today's sessions will be shared with you via email, and you will also this will be also uploaded very soon on the Drynet website, so you will have access anytime to this recording and slides. Thank you very much. I look forward to see you very soon again, and great rest of the day, evening, or afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Maybe see you soon in Ulaanbaatar
Yes.
or somewhere else in the world.
Yes, exactly. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you,
It was wonderful.
Topiko.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.